Shirley Cox, and I'm from Brigham Young University in the USA. And I'm so happy to be able to come to Taiwan and to share with you some of the experiences that we've had in hopes that they will help your children have more harmony in school. The title of my talk is Assisting Children of Disadvantaged Families to Reconnect or to Recommit to Full Involvement in their schooling process. No easy job in any country. My background is as a social worker trained at Howard University, and I received my PhD degree at Brigham Young at University of Utah. However, I was a school social worker in Baltimore, Maryland for 2 years, and much of what I talk about will be drawn from that experience. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about the research. Currently, conditions in the U.S. school system are dire. We have extremely high dropout rates. And for 2005, 29% of our non-Black and Hispanic students dropped out of school. In 2005, 87% of our Hispanic students dropped out of school. And in the same year, 99% of our African American students dropped out of school before they graduated with a 12-year degree. School violence has greatly increased. In 1 year, schools reported their figures of a violent event on their school grounds to the U.S. Federal Department of Education. 92% of secondary schools reported having at least one violent event in the year. 87% of the middle schools, which is grades 9 through 7, reported a violent activity in the year. And 61% of the elementary schools reported having a violent event within their schools. In addition to high dropout rates and violence, we struggle with lack of motivation or apathy. This is where children just decide that they don't want to go to school, or they're tired of doing their homework, or they want to quit and go to work someplace in a trade. In addition to all these, we have deteriorating buildings. It's not like I've seen in Taiwan. Many students deface buildings by spray painting their walls or destroying the pillars or the light fixtures or backing up the plumbing in the restrooms to such an extreme that those facilities are unusable. Sometimes there's money to replace that, and sometimes there isn't. We have difficult student family conditions. Of our students in the U.S., 8.5% of them live below the poverty line. I understand from Taiwan it's much better, much closer to only 1%, which is very much less. In the United States, prior to the economic downturn, we had 10.5% of our parents without jobs or unemployed. Students are retained in a grade sometimes 2 years, sometimes more. But 8.1% of our students have been retained in their grade at least one time. One or more parents immigrated to the United States in the past 5 years, in about 2.3% of the cases. And children not living with both parents was as high as 30.8% of all the students. As a result, conditions are difficult for students. This is not the picture everywhere. In Utah, where I live, our figures are much better. But what I've presented for you are averages from across the country, including such places as Los Angeles, New York City, Miami, and it's difficult and even more dire than what I've stated in some of those locations. I'd like to talk to you about one particular student who came from a very unhappy home setting in Washington, D.C. And I've asked him if I could share this with you, and he said it was all right with him. His name is Christian Moore, and he has severe learning disabilities. If you went to McDonald's to buy a hamburger, he, at age 35 and having graduated with a master's degree, could still not make change. If he gave $6 US to the clerk and received a Big Mac, and he looked down at the change, he would have no idea if that change was correct or if it was all wrong. But he is very successful today and runs his own company called Why Try. This is one program I'd like to share with you later on, but I want you to realize it's only one of many options and may only be a model that some of you might want to follow in developing your own specific model for Taiwan, dealing with your students and your culture and your school system, which is different from ours. But let me share with you Christian's experience. He was born in a very large family in a poor neighborhood in Washington, D.C. His father was an accountant with the federal government, and his mother was a stay-at-home mom. However, there were many children, and the father was very stressed to make enough money to support his 7 children and his wife. And she had severe emotional problems and at times could not come out of her bedroom to face the stress of the large family. Christian's older sister became the mother for the family, and he, sort of to the middle of the number of children, became ungovernable. His sister or parents had no idea where he was most of the time. He started begging from people on the streets, stealing from the local stores, and lying to the school officials and neighbors. However, there was one woman in his neighborhood who did have Christian's respect. She was the black wife of a preacher who lived just 2 doors down, 2 houses down from them. Her name was Mama Jackson. And sometimes Mama Jackson would go out on the street and find Christian from age 4 or 5 into grade school, elementary school, take him by the collar and haul him into her house and say, "Christian, you have to pay attention to what I say and what your school officials say." And some days he would pay attention, but mostly he would not. Later on, when he started into middle school, he became the class clown. He would make jokes. He would try to hide the fact that he couldn't read and he couldn't do math at all. Fairly soon, Mama Jackson got very concerned. And when Christian's grandparents, his grandmother and his grandfather, came for a visit, Mama Jackson said to them, "You must take Christian back to Utah with you and see that he learns how to read. Because if he doesn't learn how to read, he will become a very good criminal and probably end up either dead or in jail." As a result, the grandparents did take Christian home with them and enrolled him in the Utah school system. He had testing, and they said he was hopeless and he probably should go to a special ed program and decide that he probably would never be able to go to the university. They, however, decided that they would try to help Christian be all that he could be. And so they brought in tutors and worked with him every night after school. He began to do better, and though he never learned how to do math, he did learn how to read and how to write and do his science and social studies work. He was able to get himself into a local junior college without any math. I'm not quite sure how he did that, because that's definitely against our rules, but he was able to accomplish that. In the junior college, he was able to work with his professors, and by putting forth a great deal of time and effort, he was able to get reasonably good grades. I first met him when he came to my university, and he said to me, "Dr. Cox, there's no way I will be able to graduate if I can't pass your research class." Now, my research class is known throughout the university, at least in the School of Social Work, to be very difficult. But I said to him, "I'll work with you, and if you can get research design down, and if you can memorize the statistical procedures and terminology, we'll see how well you can do." He didn't get a wonderful grade out of my class, but he did pass, and I think in our grade scale it was about a B-, but it was adequate. At that point, he decided he wanted to get a master's degree, and he wanted to start his own business. And in this whole process, we asked him why he was interested in getting a master's degree. And he sat down and he said, "You know, throughout my life, people have tried to talk me into doing things their way. And I always wanted an education. But my teachers have always said, why do you work so hard? Why do you care? Why do you try?" And he said, "I think my secret to success is I do understand why I need to try. I need to try because I can do this. It's something I can accomplish. I know the price will be great, but I can do this." I'd like to demonstrate for you a little bit of Christian's Why Try program, because essentially what he's done is written down his formula for succeeding through not only high school, secondary school, but through junior college and his bachelor's level and clear through his master's level of schoolwork. I'd like to talk about the program he's prepared along with the assistance of those students that he's worked with in the current school system in Utah, where he has many programs in many different local schools. And he designed a process of helping disabled students, dyslexics, students who have to learn in different ways. He's put together music and art and poetry writing and dancing to learn school facts such as values and even curriculum like reading and writing. The first chart I'd like to show you is the reality ride, which is the first graphic that he designed to help explain to people his view of the world. And basically, it's a roller coaster with a very high ledge on the top where the cars go up slowly, creeping up slowly, very high. And then they get to the top, and then they come down. And so many times, that excitement of coming down is what youth get a great charge out of, a great excitement from, because they think, this is what life is all about. It's about this ride. We go high, and then we crash. And what he has tried to help youth understand is that life is more than just climbing up a hill, sliding down the other side, and crashing at the bottom. Life is about ups and downs, but slowly working to your goal. And that true harmony and true happiness only comes from staying on the ride for the long run. Please take a look at the slide that will be shown to see what he's described. In this upward movement and then the crashing down on the roller coaster, there's a loop at the bottom. Sometimes the student crashes and is not able to get up, and at other times the student moves through a loop where they then want to go back up the roller coaster to a high and then crash one more time. And what Christian talks about is that so many youth get hooked in this almost as an obsession. They're looking for the high, and then they crash, and then they go back through it again, looking again for a better high. And ultimately, it results in death, ending their whatever their existence is. Sometimes they end up in jail, imprisoned. What Christian says to his youth is that it's more important that you not look for the high, that you look for the slower journey, up and then down and up and down. Not as exciting, but far more rewarding in the long run. He tries to teach the values of how you can succeed and the importance of success in your life, the importance of staying on the long upward trial with its ups and downs. He talks about how we have to keep ourselves motivated. We have to keep moving on. Even if we crash, we need to get back on the slow rising track, not on the high flash exciting track. And he says the only way to really accomplish true inner harmony and peace is to learn the values of hope, love, joy, and this leads to harmony and peace.
Where are you in life's big ride? On an upward swing or downward slide? What's your own reality? Are you on your way to victory? How will your life be different if you change the way you act? You can stay there in the easy loop or jump on the harder track. to search yourself inside when you decide which line you'll ride. You must own the consequences. You build bridges, or you make fences. It's waiting that you win or lose. Be wise with the track that you choose. Yeah, the ride's about reality. What has been and what can be. It's in your head and it's in your hands. Your life will follow your commands. Stay on the track that keeps you free. Don't miss the golden opportunity. Good things up around the bend. You'll find it's worth it in the end. You have to search yourself inside when you decide which line you'll ride. You must own the consequences. You build bridges, you make fences. It's waiting there to win or lose. Be wise with the track that you choose. The track that you choose. Right of reality. Be what you want to be. We're in the land of opportunity. Don't treat this ride too carelessly. Pay attention to the signs. Don't wanna hit the wall too many times. You gotta treat this ride respectfully. Choose your coasters carefully. Find a way to use your boundless energy. Tap into your creativity. Ride of reality.
I'd like to talk about two different lessons. The first one I'd like to talk about is labels. Very early, the youth in his program understand that they have labels wrapped on them, like you would have on a can in the grocery store. But their labels don't say tomato soup or mushrooms. Their labels say loser or hopeless or stupid. And what he says to his youth is that as long as you carry that label, you will be seen by other people as that label. And he tries to help the youth tear off the label and relabel themselves in a way that's more realistic about them and about their potential. I'd like you to listen to a film clip that the youth in his program have put together on values. It's important that they wrote this themselves, they filmed this themselves, and take great pride in having been able to produce it.
A label can be good or bad, it just depends if it comes from society or real friends. And if you don't like them, you can take them off. And if they've been on too long, you could break them off. Cause all white people ain't racist, and no, all blacks ain't got the same faces. We won't feel compassion if we remain faceless. Gotta deal with the past so we can't erase this. And I know we can't help it, but it's the one thing that we really need help with. We too selfish, and we don't wanna step out the comfort zone. Cause it's not comfort when my pain is what your comfort zone. We shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Arrest, convict, the judge crooks by their color. cause our hearts all work the same. Ashamed that we all don't hurt the same. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. I remember like it was yesterday, then I paused for a second. Was it just a day? Now it's only us today. And it's so hard to say goodbye to my guy, and I really know the reason why. I used to wanna be just like him, he had it all. The grades, the girls, beautiful pictures on the wall, and a personality that was flawless. Really no choice but to succeed when having all this. 2 parents at home, college scouts on the phone. Even in the midst of crowds, he would feel alone. And I never understood till I got the call. It's too much pressure, I'm ending it all. I said, man, that ain't the thing to do, cause there's a lot of people that would kill to be you. He just said, yeah, I bet, but I haven't even been me yet. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. Maybe I'm not as smart as the other kids. Maybe I'll end up doing what my brother did, cause that's how they all see me anyway. I'm a failure, so it'll happen any day. I didn't choose to be who I am. Put your feet in my shoes, you'll see who I am. I'm not a thug cause I live in the hood. I got hopes and dreams to live a life that's good. But don't hand me a ball or a mic thinking since I'm black, that's all that I like. I will not be limited by my color. The content of my character is more to discover, cause I can feel the allegory of the cave and make it relevant and spit the story of a slave. Cause I am destiny. You speak to the worst, I'll speak to the best of me. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels.
It may be that tearing off these labels does not translate well into your culture. There may be other ways that your youth label themselves or identify as losers or stupid or hopeless. But this is a very important part of the program. We find in the United States that we're losing more and more youth to suicide, where they give up and believe they can no longer please their parents, their teachers, or themselves. That's extremely serious and something that must be addressed, but can be addressed within your system if you'll talk to the youth and try to pinpoint what it is that they're seeing in themselves that's making them so hopeless and so out of harmony with the system. I'd like to talk about other lessons, and then after that I'll go over the values that are taught in these succeeding lessons. The next lesson is defense mechanisms. This is a series of lessons where the youth look at what armor they put around them to defend them from the hurts in their environment. It may be negative comments from peers. It may be rejection from parents or siblings. It just may be epithets that they hear on the street. But we all choose different ways to protect ourselves. And the youth are helped to see through music and art and poetry that they write for themselves, that these defense mechanisms can be good and helpful, or they can be very bad and harmful, and may protect them against the very learning that they need to do to be able to progress. The next series of lessons is called Climbing Out of the Pot. Sounds a little graphic, but what it's basically about are crabs in a pot who, when the water gets hot and they're being boiled on the stove, they try to pull each other back down. And what Christian's trying to say is that when you're with your peer group, you need to be careful that you push each other and pull each other out of the pot. That staying there in this environment, in this negative loop, will do nothing but ruin everyone's life. And it's much more helpful, and it's easier to get back on the ride if you pull each other out or push each other up, so that you can then move on to a better life. Another lesson is on jumping hurdles. And he talks about a long-distance runner who also jumps hurdles. So not only does he do the distance, but he jumps the hurdles. Sometimes the hurdles in life are high, sometimes they're low. But they must be jumped. They can trip you up, and they can discourage you, and they can cause you to lose your vision. I remember when the Olympics was being run, it's been probably 4 years ago now, he was talking about hurdlers from various countries who were doing a wonderful job. And the youth went out and painted hurdles and wrote challenges on hurdles in their schoolyard. And they would put doing my math, reading my book, obeying my parents. And they would put those hurdles up along the track, and then they would run down the track and see if they could jump those hurdles, raising them up higher and higher. And it helped them understand that even though life is difficult sometimes with hurdles, it's so worth going through that effort. Another one is a maze that he's had the students draw for themselves. And there's a very long, drawn-out process by which you draw this maze. But then you trace through these different channels until you finally get to your goal, which is through this meadow and out the other side. And it's very difficult to be able to get through that without running into a wild animal or a lake where you can get up to your knees in bad water, or a very high hill that you have to climb. But it's worth the time and the effort if you desire to get from one side to the other. That it's complicated and you have to use your mind to figure out how to do that, but it's worth the effort. Another is lifting weights. And some of you have seen people start being fairly unable to lift a heavy weight, only a few pounds on each side. But as you work at that, your body gets stronger and you're able to lift more weight. And it gets easier and easier, and then you add more weight. But his point to the youth is that the weights make you stronger. Yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's hard work. But it's so worth doing that because you feel so good when you're able to accomplish that goal and lift the weight and feel the strength in your body. He says your mind is like this. You start lifting smaller weight, and then you lift heavier and heavier, building on your previous successes, but not pushing too hard so that you then break down your muscle and fall back. It's really interesting how the students are able to manage internalizing these concepts. Again, I'm not sure that this will work in Taiwan, but I'm sure there are similar situations in your culture where you can point to, working hard makes us stronger. he talks about plugging in, and I love this one because I have on my computer a long model like this, and it has plugs in it where you plug different things in. And you can plug in your computer, your whatever, your video screen, whatever you need you can plug in. And he talks about the need to help youth understand that they have to have a power bar where they can plug in to power sources. And those power sources are like advisors, school counselors, parents, neighbors who can help them, grandparents, others in society, maybe a coach at one of the athletic fields who they get to know that can help them be strong and give them energy and power to go forth. These people can also provide them with bridges and with ways to get across a gulf. Christian said that the only way he could get out of junior college and high school into higher education was by being friendly with his professors, letting them know of his skills and abilities, letting them know of his desire and commitment, letting them know of his strengths and what he did well, and then asking them to be of assistance to him. And he said it's amazing how people will help you out if you will simply try to get plugged in to those power sources. Let's go over some of the values that we've talked about to review. One that comes from tearing off the labels is having the power to make the changes and tear off their labels and tear off the labels they've put on their parents and labels they put on their teachers and labels they put on their friends. The program is designed to develop a sense of self-worth and power, an awareness of available support. Again, a parent or caregiver, a positive friend or friends, a teacher or counselor at the school, a positive mentor somewhere in their life. And to keep moving on activities that make us more strong, more hopeful, more harmonious, and more empowered. He talks about substituting positive for negative reactions or defenses that are unnecessary. He talks about seeing life's challenges as a source of energy, as a challenge, as a game to be won. He talks about learning to jump over life's hurdles, to identify the problems, to create options or ways to go, to get help from others, to take action and run the course, to believe in change and growth and promise, and to jump back up when we fall. He talks to the youth about the values of hard work, that everything of value requires effort, that there are no shortcuts, that desire, even passion, time, and effort are required. He talks about accepting the challenge of living with the weights that you have been given, and that if you work with those and slowly build up, the resistance of rules and challenges in life simply makes us stronger. He talks about giving up and taking the easier path, which always makes us weaker. I'd like to have you look at the video at this point called The Vision, which is a summary of all these concepts that I've talked about. And again, I especially like this video because it's written by the students. And you'll notice salted throughout the video and through the words are all these values that I've talked about. Each youth who goes through the program memorizes this song. They dance to the song, and they chant the song so that they will be able to keep on that slow, gradual, upward track.
Come on, yeah. What? Y'all ready for this? Elements of change. Y'all ready? Why try? Yeah. Come on. Are you ready to succeed in life, to get all of the things that you need in life? And I ain't talking about the stuff you can buy. I'm talking about what's inside, can't let it die. Like hope, love, joy, peace. If you only got a little, let's work to increase, so we can get ourselves up out the pot. Cause pretty soon it'll get too hot, and we do not want to sit there so that we can fail. We in this to grow, not go to jail. And though the weight is real heavy, we'll lift it, man. And to tell the truth, we are all gifted, man. We gotta get plugged into those who support us. Remember all the things they have taught us. Why try? Cause you owe it to yourself. I know that you're great now, show it to yourself. Cause
now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall. Now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall. I'm tearing off all these labels, defining reality. From LD to Nike, I say no to these fantasies. I'm not learning disabled, I learn different. I got big dreams and I'm on a mission, kid. Grounded in reality, forsaking the crash. Jumping over casualties and I'm making the dash. In the flash, I'm climbing out of the pot. I see who's got my back and the cats that do not. And in the situations that lead to death or prison, I have to control my defense mechanisms, leading to a better life when things get tense. And with love, I can jump any fence. Like playing defense, I gotta put in work, combining my time, desire, and effort. I got a bigger view now, where I stand. Why try? Cause I got big goals and plans. Now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall. Now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall. Are you ready for those times when the storm gets tough? Ready to channel challenge into the formula? Leading to self-respect, freedom and opportunity. Do you know what love is and can you speak it fluently? There's sure to be distractions along this journey. Things promising satisfaction that'll be yearning to turn away support that endorses your flight. In order to stay the course, it'll sure be a fight. Do you hear the inner voice coming from deep inside, helping you to make the right choice when you see the tides trying to rise and override you with distraction? Focus on your goals and you'll reach satisfaction. And this is the hope that for sure will back up. Watch us at the weight and watch us laugh. Cause what could have killed us only led us to collect power, love, freedom, and self-respect. Now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall. Now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall. Now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall. Now is the moment, it is the hour to walk out on purpose with power. Lift up your voice and make the call. We have vision now to see past the wall.
I know this video clip about vision may be confusing, but it has all the visions, all the images, all the concepts kind of all thrown into it. And again, it's developed by the students, and they like the rhythms, they like the way it was put together. When Christian first showed it to me, I said, oh, that's far too confusing. And he said, well, the students like it. And so it stayed that way forever. And I think that's how it should be. I think when you do your programs to adapt to the needs of these particular students, you need to be careful that you let them lead out, that you listen to them, that you use their terminology and their music and their way of communicating. Sometimes it's difficult for me as a grandmother to understand where they're coming from, but this program has simply been so effective because they've been able to relate directly to the youth. Let me talk a little bit about how this program is being utilized. It's currently used in over 4,500 schools across the United States, Europe, Australia, and Canada. It's used in 525 different school districts in 48 different U.S. states and the other countries I've mentioned across the world. But more importantly, it's really sort of been embraced by the counselors, those individuals who struggle with these youth who are dropping out or almost to drop out of their school system. And it's a set-aside period during the day when they can get them together. Sometimes they'll do it during a school recess when they can get the students together. But in every case, the students need to develop a sense of the group or the individuals with whom they're working. Those groups should not be too large. They should be no larger than 12 to 15 students. When you get more students than that, you start to overwhelm the process, and then things will fall apart. The research that's been done mostly by school psychologists is that this program greatly reduces truancy rates. Those are when the students simply don't show up for school. They don't drop out, but they just don't show up for school. It greatly improves their academic success, and it greatly increases their graduation rates. These findings were logged in an article by Bushnell and Card in 2003. G reported in 2003 that his research on a group of schools in California demonstrated that the Y-Tribe program had increased motivation for the students to succeed in school, had greatly increased their obedience to school rules, and had decreased their response to negative peer pressure. Eggett in 2003 also found that the program decreased absence from school, improved their locus of control, which means their ability to focus and control their behaviors, and it greatly improved their attitude towards school and toward their teachers. Acuna, Vega, Meza, Marquez, and Vera in 2008 in their research project in San Diego, California, reported that the Y-Tribe program had demonstrated an increase in students' motivation to succeed in school and to succeed in life. There was a decrease noted in negative behaviors toward their peers, especially in social groups after school. School counselors from all across the country have reported that it's been important for students to see that they can take charge of their own learning process, that they can be a part of planning and designing how they'll go about reconnecting in school. The suicide rate among teenagers in Texas dropped 25% in 3 school districts where they had had a tremendous amount of gang violence. I think this is not a wonderful magic program. I think it's simply an example of programs that we can come up with wherever we are to tune into youth and try to help them understand our values and make them their